J.J. McCarthy and Michigan absolutely dominated Ohio State in Columbus. Final score was 45-23. We were there to see it all go down. I thought the stadium would be a little bit more like 60-40, maybe 70-30. Felt very much so a heavier lean towards Ohio State than it did Michigan. But by the end of this whole thing, a hush fell over. The majority of the crowd, Hail to the Victors, was blaring, and it was an absolute circus in Columbus with the maize and blue just getting after it in the postgame. And it was a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to be a part of. J.J. McCarthy absolutely balled out. We're going to talk about that. But I have to say this at the very beginning of this whole video. We picked Ohio State to win this football game. Nay, I picked Ohio State to win this football game, and I was dead wrong. And a lot of the reasons why I was wrong was because of what J.J. McCarthy did on the field and absolutely took over in a multitude of ways. Because think about what the conversation around J.J. McCarthy was for the duration of this year, up to this point at least. Super talented, a lot of potential, really good athlete, really special arm. But to that point in the year, it had been he's a game manager. He's going to hand the ball off to their special backs, let the offensive line work. That's who they are. They don't want to put too much on his plate. And yesterday, you didn't see any of that from J.J. McCarthy. I mean, he was essentially the catalyst to the entire offense. Yes, Donovan Edwards had a huge day on the ground. That was definitely a part of it. But J.J. McCarthy, 12 for 24, 263 yards, popped the top not once, but 3 times. He had his best game of the season when his best was required. And that's crucial. That's an alpha dog kind of move from J.J. McCarthy in a spot like that. It felt like the entire game sort of went through him. In a spot that could have been, let's just call a spade a spade, like that could have been the most intimidating spot for him, going to Columbus, having a raucous crowd around you in a rivalry game, high stakes. For that to be your first start in that game, nobody would have put too much blame on J.J. McCarthy if he didn't have a great performance yesterday, but that was not the case. Again, when his best was required, that's what you got out of number 9. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you along for the ride. A lot of the Michigan faithful have already joined us, somewhere in north of 1,000 subs in the last week, I believe, from you. So thank you for that. If you haven't yet joined us, we'd love to have you. Jump on in. The water's fine. What I saw yesterday from J.J. McCarthy was a different recipe, at least in the first half, than we had seen from Michigan. Because so much had been made of, well, what if they don't have that elite running game that we've come to know them by? Because we saw against Illinois, Blake Corum goes out, they didn't have Donovan Edwards, the running game kind of stalled, and their offense kind of stalled. I mean, if Jake Moody doesn't go 4 for 4 against Illinois, I don't know if we have the same kind of stakes in that game with 2 undefeated teams. Like, let's just be real. But what we saw from Ohio State in the first half was they watched that tape too, and they made a point to, okay, you're not going to run the football against us. Also, by the way, Blake Corum essentially didn't really play in this game. I think he had somewhere around like 2 or 3 carries, like wasn't a factor in this game. So your best player already isn't able to contribute as much as he wants to, and you're not getting what you're used to getting on the ground. 29 rushing yards in the first half. If I told you Michigan's going to have 29 rush yards in the first half, how many points would you have guessed they had? 7? 3? You're being generous, maybe 10 points. The pass game kept them in it. They scored 24 points, I believe, in that first half with 29 rushing yards. That's counterpunches. That's J.J. McCarthy saying, okay, the pressure now shifts back to me. It is now my responsibility to take over this game. My team needs me. And like I said, he was exceptional through the air. Connected on the deep pass to Cornelius Johnson, which set the whole sideline on fire. Made a great play when Ohio State dialed up the pressure on the youngster, and he makes a play to get it away to Cornelius Johnson, and he ends up scoring after breaking a tackle. Like, he had so much poise, and I was so impressed by the way that he responded when the pressure shifted back to him to, hey, JJ, we don't have that right hook, my man. We need the jab. We need the counterpunch. Delivered in a big way and threw haymakers and allowed Michigan to have a little bit more breathing room because of what Ohio State was getting torched in the pass game. And then in the second half, saw the run game pay dividends, and a lot of that, in my estimation, was in no small part to J.J. McCarthy proving that, hey, you got to honor my three-point shot, man. Yeah, we want to drive the lane, but if you leave me open, I'm going to hit that money on the table. It's the way that it goes with me. This team, Michigan, has such an edge. And I said it yesterday, post-game on the field, but the edge and the way that they carry themselves, you can't help but feel a little bit cynical up to yesterday, at least, with, okay, that's great that, you're on a happy mission and you're, continuing to charge on and all these things about how you carry yourself and the confidence level. That's phenomenal. But you're also beating Illinois. You're beating Michigan State, beating Rutgers. Like, okay, that's great. Do it against one of the big dogs in college football. Yesterday, Michigan went into Columbus, absolutely handled business, and I think validated all of the things they had said about themselves up to that point. Was really, really impressive. But I think even more so, the edge to me yesterday started with J.J. McCarthy. And this is something that didn't get talked about a ton going into the week, but J.J. McCarthy, you can go read about it on different publications, but he grew up an Ohio State fan. He, to my estimation, was very, very much interested in attending that university. And again, I won't go too deep into it. Don't have time for all that. But basically, he felt like he was wronged by Ohio State during the recruiting process. And so for him, there could have been a lot of anger and bad energy that he brought to that game and caused him to press and play too emotional, but he channeled that and made it an edge. And everybody fed off of that. I remember down by the goal line when he scored on that quarterback design run, you could tell that he had the look he wanted because he was telling his line to get down. But for number 9 to essentially call for the ball in that situation, for your quarterback, your young quarterback in that spot to want to have the ball in the red zone on the goal line to run it in, like, that's a guy I'll follow. That's a guy, okay, he's tough. He cares about this program. He's willing to put his body on the line to get in the end zone. Like, I'll go to bat with that guy. And I think that's kind of the feel around this program with J.J. McCarthy and how they again, like I said, feed off of his edge that he provides. Because truly, J.J. McCarthy embodies so well what this Michigan program is all about. Unselfish, blue collar, highly intense, highly competitive. Like, all those things describe Michigan, but also I think they describe J.J. McCarthy. And I think that's why we see this marriage be so successful in his first year starting. I want to make sure we say this too. Yesterday proved Jim Harbaugh right. All the conversation around Cade McNamara, and he got you over the hump to get a Big Ten championship, make the college football playoff. Like, I was one of those people sitting here in the preseason saying, I don't know how you turn away from Cade McNamara. I don't understand how you would do that. But in a game like yesterday, no knock on Cade McNamara. He's a phenomenal talent. I mean, he doesn't feel like he has to prove anything to me, but I promise you, what J.J. McCarthy brought in the run game and with his arm talent yesterday was the difference in beating Ohio State. So here's the deal. J.J. McCarthy's elevation of his game completely changes Michigan's complexion for the rest of the season. Because before it was Michigan's going to play bully ball. They're going to lean on you. J.J. McCarthy described it as the pipes eventually bursting. I like to say you put the weight on your back. You feel it in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. It just suffocates you. That's how they won. That's great. That's still available. But now you've got a quarterback and a receiving core that can stretch the field. And if you don't commit enough resources to the back end and don't respect that run game, don't respect that pass game enough, they will make you pay. So they become even more dangerous by how multiple they can be offensively and the kind of games they're now able to win. You want to get into a shootout with Michigan? What I saw yesterday, I feel just fine saying, J.J. McCarthy, we got to go score 40. Let's do it. We got to play ground control. We got to take the air out of the football. We got to have the other offense just kind of watch the game. We can do that too. So the styles of fights that Michigan can now win, I think makes them a problem for everybody else across the college football landscape. So Michigan beats Ohio State for the second year in a row, punches their ticket to the Big Ten title, likely punches their ticket to the college football playoff, and a lot of it, majority of it, I won't say majority, a lot of it, a very, very sizable portion of it is due to J.J. McCarthy and his elevation yesterday against the Buckeyes. That's it for us here on The Hard Count. We appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Also follow me on the socials, at JD Pickell on Twitter and on Instagram. We're going to keep the party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.